Woo, that was a rough one to watch on a Saturday night. Welcome on in to Card Central Postgame here on STL Sports Central. All content brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Joe Roderick, Randy Karraker hanging out with you tonight, and your comments are welcome. Just bring them, and we will throw them up on the screen and comment along with you. Randy, I'm going to ask you to kick things off here. Give me one word to describe what we just watched.
Joe, for me, it's frustrating. After the success you had on the West Coast and taking 2 of 3 from the Dodgers, you get the opener last night, a shutout, and then all of a sudden you're down 6-0 after 2. And the way they fell behind 6-0 with, I thought it was an error on Contreras rather than Jordan Walker. But that doesn't matter. And then Ozo with the bad throw. The Cardinals just making mistakes, giving Chicago runs. Really frustrating for me.
Yeah, that's a good one to throw out there. I think I think I texted that word to somebody early on in the game watching it. I used the word in the description. I used the word embarrassing. I used the word abysmal for that because and frustrating is such a good word because you just look at this team and you look at how many people, and Randy, I know you talk to a lot of people too, that, you know, that they've given up on the year. They've said, okay, you know what? It's over. It's done with. And I want to be this eternal optimist when it comes to the Cardinals and think that there's a chance. And, you know, you saw firsthand, you know, years like 2011 and, right. You saw things like that. And you kind of look at that and you go, okay, hey, maybe, just maybe it could happen. And then, you know, something like this happens after you get a nice win last night, a 5-0 win. You go out there and you shut out the Cubs on a Friday night. Everybody's excited. Yachty's back in the dugout. You have all this positive momentum. And then tonight happens and down 2-0. You're like, God, here we go again.
Right. And even if the expectation of the playoffs isn't there, and I have no expectation of playoffs, but you do expect that a guy like Andre Pallante is going to get better, right? And he wasn't able to put people away 0-2. He wasn't able to use, and granted, he just didn't have his best stuff. But he was not what he normally is or what he has to be for the Cardinals to be successful. Now, everybody's going to get knocked around now and then. I know that. But as we give players runway, what you have to do is find a way for players to be able to get through innings and get through games and get through 6 innings without their best stuff. And it looked like tonight, he just could not handle the idea of putting, I shouldn't say that. He couldn't put hitters away. He just didn't have what it took tonight to put hitters away. And Pallante, and he didn't get an awful lot of help from the defense either. But remember, one was a bad throw on a stolen base. The other one was a throw after a base hit. So it wasn't like they weren't hitting Pallante. He got hit pretty good.
Yeah, and you could tell early on in the game too. It's, you know, I'm sure Ali would have loved to have not burned through as many arms in the bullpen and would have at least liked him to get through that second inning. And you could just tell as that second inning just went on, he was laboring out there. The curveball wasn't doing anything. He was struggling to find the strike zone. And it just looked like the last place he wanted to be was on a pitcher's mound tonight in front of people watching him just struggle through it.
And I wonder if Yachty talks to him. I know that Yachty's talking to the pitchers between innings, but I wonder if at some point Yachty talks to a guy like Pallante about the necessity to have to deal with adversity, but then to have the gumption to battle through. I think that's one of the great things about McGreevy. When McGreevy gets off to a bad start like that, he's great at battling through. And I didn't see that from Pallante tonight. And I wish we would have. On the other end of the spectrum, Joe, hey, they only scored 1 run too. And they just have to be better and more consistent offensively. Good to see Gorman get a couple of walks and not strike out. Jordan Walker continues to hit the ball hard. But I think the Cardinals' lack of consistency on offense for me heading into 2026 is the most alarming thing. That this is not, it's not a unit yet. It's not a lineup that produces on a regular basis. They have their moments and they obviously have individual talent, but this is far from a great offense. It's far from a good offense at the moment.
And that's a lot of stuff that I think we're going to get into here on the post-game show. I do want to throw up there the comment that's sitting there. I put it up there a while ago. I want to get to that where Space says, honestly, just sick of how two-faced it feels. Decent win, horrible loss. And that's, I think when we reflect back on this season, it's going to be that this team never could get on that run. They could never get on, like right now we're seeing, I don't think the Brewers have lost a game since May. And
It feels like, yeah.
they won again tonight with a big 4-run 7th inning. And it just keeps happening. And you see these teams on this hot streak, and the Cardinals just haven't gotten on that yet. Even taking 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, they didn't get 2 in a row. They won the first, they won the third. Like you're just not putting together these streaks of sweeping series and getting on these runs. And you have, like you said, you have this high of coming out. You're coming home from LA. You just took a series from the Dodgers. You shut out the Cubs 5-0. Boom, down 6-0 before you even get 6 outs.
Yeah. One of the things, Joe, I talked to Ali yesterday about what they're going through now with the runway. And he said the real goal of the runway with these young players is to shorten the slump, to have that gap between the other team making an adjustment and then you making an adjustment back against them, have that become shorter. And I guess because they're saying it, I guess it is happening. But I don't know if I was talking to you about this, but the 1982 Cardinals, they never lost more than 3 games in a row, and their offense was incredibly consistent. And the 04 team, once they got rolling after Memorial Day, the 2000 or the 1985 team, they were so consistent, and they had veteran players, so that's part of it. But the lack of consistency, and this isn't indigenous to the Cardinals either. There's a lot of it in baseball, but I think that is the thing that keeps teams from being great. I don't think it's as much horrible pitching as it is just having that roller coaster ride offensively that you're on. Look at the Cubs. Cubs have a good offense, and they in the first half of the season they were the best offense in the National League, and now until tonight they've been terrible since the All-Star break offensively.
And you mentioned talking to Ali yesterday, and that's we've heard a lot from Ali over the past 48 hours now regarding the Molina stuff. I know Bernie talked to him yesterday. You talked to him yesterday. All of the different things that are coming out of that, and just the comment after comment that we're seeing. And I'm not going to put them up on the screen right now, but people that are blaming Ali for a loss like tonight, or blaming him for the season with that. I talked about this with Ryan Fagan on Friday, that this is the most vocal that I think we have seen Ali in his tenure as the manager of the Cardinals, speaking out about I'm dealing, I'm just throwing out there what I have. Like these are the pitchers I have. What do you want me to do with this?
And I don't think it's a coincidence that it happened right after John Mozeliak's final trade deadline. John Mozeliak is essentially toothless right now. He's not going to do anything to Ali Marmol, regardless of what Ali says. And people, I guess, are going to disagree with me, which is fine.
Oh, and it looks like we lost Randy there for a second, so we will wait for him to get back. But as he was talking about with Ali and the Ali Marmol and what he's kind of talking about and saying that with Mo leaving, Mo on his way out right now with and Chaim Bloom coming in. Ali right now is probably, unless there's been conversations back behind closed doors, and there are, we know that he has a secure spot next year where he is going into the last year of his contract. We don't know what a Chaim Bloom type of manager is yet. We can't tell that from his time in Boston, his time in Tampa. So, unless there are things that have happened behind the scenes, right now, we don't have an idea of what that is. And maybe, as Michael says there, that Mo went in there and cut Randy's line. So no teeth to talk about anything else or to do anything on the field. But maybe he does have the powers that be to sit there and at least cut off Randy's comments or Randy's talking points there as Randy does make his way back here. And
Man, I just had a great little riff there.
People are saying, Randy, that Mo cut the line. that Mo went and he knocked you off the air.
That might be. No, what I was saying was, and you mentioned that there's people saying that putting this one on Ali. You can't blame a manager for a 9-1 loss. You can't blame a manager for Contreras losing the ball between his legs. You can't blame a manager for a catcher making a bad throw, or for Pallante knocking it around. And I said, Joe, I think, and I don't know if people heard this, I think Ali's done a really good job of managing the team. He plays hard. They play good fundamental baseball. I would like to see him run more, but they play good defense. They generally run the bases pretty well. And I think if you're saying that Ali Marmol is at fault for losing this particular game, then you're just searching for a scapegoat, and you want him to be the scapegoat.
It's the word of the word of the day for this seems to be frustrating, and we talked about that at the top of the show. Another thing that's frustrating with this is the amount of games now that we've seen on national TV that the Cardinals have gone out and laid eggs like this.
Mm-hmm.
Last night was a local broadcast. People were able to see that game for free, Randy, on Channel 4 last night,
right.
And then you put it on national TV and they shit the bed.
And they've had a lot of non-competitive
national
TV games, and they're on national TV again tomorrow night on ESPN. Yeah,
and they did that the last two times. The last time they played the Cubs, it was 2 national TV games. That again, it was the Apple TV game on the 4th of July, and then it was the Sunday game on ESPN. And again, it's embarrassing to see that this is now, I guess, what people view the Cardinals organization as being in this moment.
No doubt about it. And I think part of that is, and this is one thing where I think Yachty being in the dugout and around the players for these last couple of days, I think there does need to be a level of pride instilled. And it's another thing I asked Marmol about yesterday, because it doesn't really seem that the Cardinals-Cubs rivalry right now is electric. I guess it is for Cubs fans. But obviously players are finding their way. And what his response was with the 23, 24-year-olds, he said, when these players are essentially fighting for survival of their career right now, they aren't thinking about a Cardinal-Cub rivalry. And maybe as we go along, they will. But I think that's something where Yachty and especially Wilson Contreras can make a difference. I think it is important for teams that have rivals like the Cardinals and the Cubs. I think it's important for the players to know about that, know a little bit of the history about that. And whether it's Wilson Contreras talking about it or bringing in Al Roboski to talk about it with the players, I think it's important for the players to understand how important these series are for the fans. And we can't have non-competitive games like the Michaelis game in Chicago or this game tonight.
They were talking about on the radio broadcast how many Cardinal alums were there at Busch Stadium tonight. So you would hope that one of them, 2 of them would go in there and talk and just kind of remind some of these players what it means to be a St. Louis Cardinal and what some of the teams in the past, David Eckstein going in there and reminding them about some of the teams that he was on back in the day, and some of the other guys that were there as well, to let them know and kind of get them back into this groove.
Yeah.
They were also on the TV side of things tonight. John Smoltz and Jason Benetti. They had a lot of time to kill.
They did. That kid is famous. The umpire kid.
He is. Well, yeah. I mean, he'll be in studio hosting a show with us by the time all this is done.
Yeah.
But they John Smoltz is out there. John Smoltz, again, a guy who pitched in this Cardinal organization and knows what it means in the history of the St. Louis Cardinals, and definitely played against them enough too when he was with the Braves. And he's, I mean, it's all the runway talk has just been about offense. And John Smoltz out there tonight talking about this is a team that needs to find pitching. And I think John Smoltz's overall point was about pitching throughout all of Major League Baseball. And he touched on that a few times, but a Hall of Fame pitcher like John Smoltz sees the pitching on this staff is really thin, and there's not anything in Memphis right now to kind of come and save them with McGreevy up here.
No, and I thought it was interesting the other day that David Stearns, the president of baseball operations of the Mets, talked about how you don't need a horse anymore to win a playoff series or win a World Series. I don't think that you need one. I think it goes a long way towards helping you win. And the Cardinals, to your point, Joe, that they don't have a guy here. Maybe Matthews becomes that guy. I think that's a coin flip right now. Maybe Doyle becomes that guy, but that guy certainly doesn't exist here right now. And if you're the Cardinals, I don't know how you get that guy unless you develop him, because you're not signing him as a free agent because they cost $40 million a year. People aren't trading those guys. And so for me, what the Cardinals would have to do to find that pitching that you're talking about, they need to get lucky and they need to really evaluate other teams' young pitching. And maybe that's where getting all of these guys, Larry Day, their farm director from Cleveland, Matt Cerfolio, their number two, basically, he's going to be their general manager. He also came from Cleveland. Matt Pierpont came from that flourishing with pitching Seattle organization. Maybe that's where they can find some guys where the teams that they're on don't realize what they have, because the Cardinals are going to have a difficult time developing the kind of pitching they need to win within the next 1 or 2 years. I don't think anybody on this staff right now is going to be a number one next year. And I really like what we've seen of McGreevy. I think he's a great middle of the rotation guy, but I don't think that they have that swing and miss guy that you send against the Zach Wheeler or you send against the Yamamoto in game one of a series. Do you see that guy?
Not in this organization, no. And to the point of what you said, David Stearns was talking about. I tell you what, if the Tigers can go into a 7-game series and know that they have Skubal in 1 and 5 or 4 and 7,
yep.
I think the Tigers are going to feel pretty damn good about their chances of winning a series, knowing that you have an arm like that ready to go. So I think it's a case of there just aren't a lot of horses out there right now, and with you look at the Yankees, for example, they thought they had it in Garrett Cole. And he's out for the year. Tommy John. It's popping up. So I think it's more a fear of maybe paying for those horses, not knowing when it just might pop up and they might get shut down for a season.
Yeah. And Joe, the other part of this, from my perspective, is when we were watching in our formative baseball years, when we were watching a horse, he was going 7, 8, 9 innings. Now there's no expectation of a guy going 7, 8, or 9 innings. So it's really hard for a team to have a horse because they don't let them go a third time through the order. They don't trust a pitcher to face a lineup a third time. And that's what a horse is. A horse is a guy that can handle a lineup a third time. And for whatever reason, even guys that look like they're capable of it and have the array of pitches, they just don't let them do it.
No. Hey, this is Card Central Postgame. Joe Roderick, Randy Karraker with you. And all the content here on STL Sports Central is brought to you by DraftKings. And hopefully tonight, if you picked Andre Pallante, you went with less when it came to total outs in the game because he only got you 5 of those. And that's the beauty of the Pick 6 app. There are so many different things that you can bet on, whether it's total bases, home runs, outs recorded, strikeouts recorded by a pitcher. You just pick 2 or more of your favorite players and you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. You download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
One thing that I imagine will be brought up in the post game is the health of Brendan Donovan. He was scratched from the game tonight. Thomas Ajacey put in his place, but that kind of it also magnified another major issue with this team that I think needs to be addressed in some form, and I don't think it's something that's going to be fixed even next year, is that when you look at this lineup and you look at who they have in there, they have good hitters.
Mhm.
They don't have a leadoff hitter. Brendan Donovan's probably your top choice if you don't trust Mason Wynn to be a leadoff hitter.
Right.
And as much I am a huge Alec Burleson fan, I thought he should have had a job set and guaranteed from day one, but he went out there and earned it again this season. He's not a number 3 or 4 hitter in a lineup either. Like he's a complementary piece to improve an already good lineup. And when you have to put Lars Nootbaar back in the leadoff spot because Brendan Donovan's hurt, I think it just exposes a lot more issues that you have in this team.
Yeah, and maybe next year JJ Weatherholt ascends to that role, even although they don't really seem to trust young players, because I would have thought that at some point we would have seen a little bit more of Victor Scott. Players are such creatures of habit, Joe, and they go through Victor Scott goes through the entire minor leagues batting leadoff, and then all of a sudden he's hitting 8th or 9th, and there's a difference in batting 8th or 9th or batting leadoff. One of the things that helped Jackson Holiday with the Orioles, they started him off as a number 8 or 9 hitter. They move him up to the leadoff spot, and he starts performing well. Now he's not tearing up the world, but he's performing better than he did. And I would like to see, and this is another runway thing, why not give a couple of weeks to Victor Scott in the leadoff spot? Because to your point, then you could hit Herrera second or Wynn, whatever you want to do. They moved Wynn down in the lineup tonight. But let's just say Herrera's your number 2 hitter, and then Donovan's your number 3 hitter. Contreras is your number 4. And then you could go Gorman or Burleson 5. And then Jordan Walker 6. Pick your right-handed hitter, Wynn, whomever it might be, Herrera. And then Burleson could be a number 7. That probably suits him best, right? And then you fill the rest of the lineup out. I'm with you. Burleson's probably going to be that 20 home run guy. He's a really good hitter and a really good player, but I'm with you. I don't think he's a middle of the lineup bat. And I look at Donovan more as a middle of the lineup bat. If we consider right now the middle of your lineup, 2, 3, 4, I think if you have Herrera, Donovan, Contreras, you're in pretty good shape. And then what you want from your number 5 hitter is a guy that poses a threat. And I think Gorman poses the best threat, even though he might not be the guy that you want hitting all the time. He's going to be a guy that nobody wants to see because of the home run threat. And especially if he's got his OPS since the start of June is about 850. Mm-hmm. If you have an 850 OPS guy in your number 5 hole, that's fine.
Yeah, Gorman again. You mentioned earlier the 2 walks, also the single that he went opposite field with, 2 strike single that he went opposite field with, and we're seeing a lot more of that out of Nolan Gorman too, with going oppo. So that's nice. That's just get the base hits out there instead of just being that 3 outcome guy that he, I think kind of was falling into.
That's what they drafted though. That's what they told him to be, and now all of a sudden the game changes, so they ask him to change. And to his credit, he is changing.
Yeah, and this Stan the fan saying Herrera should bat 3rd, and yeah, if you do put it out there with whether Win 1, Weatherholt 2, then yeah, the way Ali likes to go back and forth, Herrera could easily be right there at number 3, and Donovan isn't really your prototypical number 4 hitter, but you do want to have him up in the lineup because he's far and away your best complete hitter. I would say, but it just becomes a mess, and that's where kind of the identity of this team or the makeup of this team, and you look at it, and it's just like, what are we doing here with some of these guys? Like you don't have those guys in place,
right? And classically, you always hit your best hitter 3rd. So under Whitey Herzog, that would have been the case. You would have hit your best hitter number 3. Here's the thing, though, and Joe, you and I think we agree here. Especially with the 3 batter minimum, you don't want to have back-to-back lefty hitters. Why give a left-handed reliever the advantage of having back-to-back left-handed hitters? So if it would be Scott, Donovan, Herrera, which would not be a bad number 3 if Scott is what we expect him to be, but you want to have it set up so that somebody can bring in a lefty reliever late and get your opportunity to face your top 2 in the lineup, both being left-handed. That's why I like the idea of Herrera hitting 2nd.
Yeah, Mason Windu chimes in and says, of the 30 teams in the MLB, how many would you say have a number 3 or 4 hitter? I'd have to go up and down lineups and look and see what that looks like. And I think even in today's MLB, it's weird saying number 3 and 4 hitters, because with the analytics, you're seeing that what used to be 3 and 4 now become 2 and 3 in a lineup. And you're seeing guys like, you look at, the Padres, they have Fernando Tatis leading off. You look at the Yankees, and I'd have to look where Judge was hitting before he got hurt, but there were a lot of times.
Goldie second, Judge third.
Yeah. So, and there were times where they would have Judge leading off or batting second in years past. So
when you look at the classic, what we're talking about, let's just say who has 2 great hitters, because obviously the Dodgers do. Mookie's not having a great year, but Freeman and Ohtani. Okay. You mentioned the Padres. They do. The Giants do, when Adames and Chapman and now Devers are all going. So that's 3 teams in the West. Arizona really kind of does with Corbin Carroll and Marte, right? And then you mentioned the Mets, or I mean the Yankees. The Mets certainly do with Soto and Alonso. The Phillies obviously do when you can put a guy like Schwarber and a guy like Harper together. The Braves do when you've got Acuna and Riley. I think most teams that are playoff type teams, not that the Braves are this year, I think most teams have a couple of hitters that if you want to slot them in at 3 and 4, you could, and you'd feel really good about it.
And that's the key word there, playoff teams. You look at the playoff teams that have those complete lineups, and that's what they have in common with that. STL City SC, they won a game. They just wrapped up their win 3-1. How many times this year has City outscored the Cardinals on days they both played? The same.
And they stay at last, because if City would have lost tonight, they could have fallen into last in the West. So congratulations to City.
Matt Rocchio and Will Bratton will have that post-game show coming up once the press conferences are done for on their side. Randy, we will wrap up here shortly. We have Sonny Gray on the mound tomorrow night. It's Sunday Night Baseball.
Let's check the forecast. Let's check the weather tomorrow night.
Is it supposed to be rough?
Well, if it's hot, he's not going to be good. We know that.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not worried about the rain. I'm worried about him. So 87 and high humidity. The game starts at 6. So 89, 87. So he'll be sweating.
He'll have a lot of jerseys laid out in the locker room to go change into. What is your confidence level in Sonny Gray being able to go out there and have a quality start tomorrow night?
He has been, to his credit, a pretty good stopper this year. So when the team loses a game, he's usually pretty good the next game. He was really good his last time out against the Dodgers. So I think it's a coin flip for him. But because he's home, I'm going to go with Sonny Gray to have a reasonable performance tomorrow night.
You will have another lefty on the mound for the Cubs. So we'll see later in the afternoon tomorrow what that lineup looks like. We saw what it was against Matthew Boyd yesterday with Garrett Hampson getting the start. That's how right-handed they went with it last night, that they had Garrett Hampson in the lineup. No Victor Scott in either of the two starting lineups these past 2 days. That's been a little surprising to me. See if he gets in there tomorrow night against the Cubs in the series finale. But that's going to do it for us. Make sure that you have hit the subscribe button so you get the alert when Rocchio goes live with the City post-game show as they win 3-1 down at Energizer tonight. For Randy Karraker, I'm Joe Roderick. Thank you all for tuning in and watching this edition of Card Central Postgame here on STL Sports Central. All content brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours.